I'm gonna sick Heather on you. You've got a new manager in town. Welcome to the Take Ownership Podcast, everyone. Your go-to podcast for everything taking ownership, whether it be in business, real estate, or just life in general. I'm your host, Josh Smith, and today's guest is someone very special that you will not want to miss. So, she is a Canada native who relocated to the States a few years back. And why do I bring that up? Well, Canadians always just seem to be some of the nicest people. I do not know what it is, but that's not it. She is also has an extensive background in real estate, spanning from multifamily to managing 900 doors, all the way to probably now one of the most efficient and timely fix and flippers I've come across. So, as you can imagine, I am beyond excited for some of the golden nuggets that are going to come out of this conversation. And with that, welcome to the show, Miss Heather Dimmick. Heather, welcome.
Hi, Josh. Glad to be here.
Good. Thanks for coming on. I really appreciate you taking the time. So, how I like to get these things started typically is more of kind of getting to know you a little more of your background. Obviously, I gave some of the highlights, but just you as an overall person. Obviously, you're in the real estate space, so kind of how you got into that and just your story.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, that's a long story.
Not a bad thing.
I've been in real estate for 30 years. And I started out 30 years ago. I was 25 years old, single mom with two little babies, and I started off in property management. Worked my butt off. I was in that, I worked for that same company for about 7.5 years. I ended up being the territory manager, and looked after everything. I had, at that point, I had 750 doors that I was looking after in three different cities, and looked at, they were like, that was in the 90s where in Canada, the way the interest rates were really high and everything, and anybody that owned multifamily that was defaulting on their mortgages was actually, they didn't have personal guarantees, so they were just giving the keys back to the banks and walking away. And so the guy I was working for was buying the buildings like at 13,000 a door and stuff. Like, it was kind of insane. But then it would be like a six building complex of like 138 units, and one building of the six would actually have tenants, and then the others were mothballed. So I would have to go in, renovate everything, and then place tenants. So that's kind of where I cut my teeth. And then I worked for another company, where I actually had just over 900 doors, in the same type of position. And then I started going out on my own about 15 years ago. And I started buying foreclosures, doing fix and flips, buying small apartment buildings that were like 1904, 1912, 1914. Like, I like the old stuff, and started renovating them and burring them and getting like really good at the renovating, and doing, understanding more of the financial end of actually owning and doing commercial real estate. So that's my story. Oh
That's
well, and
awesome.
then I also ended up selling everything in Canada, and then moving to Florida 2 years ago and starting all over again.
So that's a lot to unpack there. So you've been in the space for 30 years. That's amazing. And the fact that you were a property manager, running those many units as a single mom,
Yeah.
like that's beyond impressive. I've like major props to that. I've got three young kiddos of my own, as you know, so that's I can only imagine. And I've got a wife that helps, so
Yeah.
that's a huge amount of help. How like what was your headspace at that point in time? Because you obviously persevered through it. Like what was pushing you at that point in time?
It was sink or swim. I was a single mom, and I was so motivated just to make a life for me and my kids and just succeed. So like, I remember at one point, my the owner of the company, he said, "You're a sponge." He goes, "I tell you anything and you just absorb it and you just go with it." Like, I was 25, and I started out in the receivables and payables, and within, it was 5 or 6 months, I was already the district manager. So I just like zoomed right up because I was hungry, and
Mhm.
I worked my butt off. Like, I literally, honestly didn't take a day off. And it's honest, not even Christmas or anything, for 5 years. I worked
I believe it.
yeah,
I believe it.
yeah.
That's no joke. Yeah, that's amazing.
Same.
So as far as the transition over from Canada, you mentioned you sold all your units back there.
Yeah.
Like I can imagine, well, I know everything as far as real estate goes from Canada to the US is it's a decent amount different, like as far as the loan structures you can get. What is that? What did that look like when you first came into the States?
Oh my God, it's an entirely different world. I'm not even kidding when people say it's the Wild West. It is the Wild West. Like it is crazy in the States, but in a good way, crazy. Um, in Canada, it's like you just have like the national banks, like the Canadian banks, and there's like basically about four or five big banks that you can deal with. There is some other lenders that you can go to, but it's here like there's so many banks, and then there's the sub two, and then there's all the different ways to do like the creative and everything. None of that's allowed. Like you can't take over debt like you can like in Canada. You don't have the options that you have in the US. Like it's a huge learning curve.
Yeah, everything's like completely locked down in Canada as far as your limitation. And that you mentioned the high interest rates. Like right now, I mean, they're still crazy high, aren't they?
They're crazy high. The pricing is crazy high. Like people had homes like in Toronto and Vancouver and stuff that were you know 300,000, 400,000, and within a couple of years they were selling them for 1.2 million. So
Holy moly.
yeah, things went crazy. And so everything was so overpriced that you honestly couldn't make anything pencil. And then, I mean, even in BC, now they've banned Airbnb, and all these people had paid all this
Ugh,
astronomical amount for these homes, and we're running them as Airbnbs, and now they've taken that away from them. So like, there's a lot going on up there. So I,
ouch.
I moved at the right time.
Yeah, you did.
I did.
And as far as those loan structures too, I mean, I mean, they're like 5-year terms or something crazy short.
Yeah,
Where
you
you,
can get like a 2, 3, 5. Like usually in commercial, I think the longest you can really get is 10. Um
crazy.
yeah, that's how long your term is. It's usually about 5 to 10 on commercial. And and then you have to renegotiate another mortgage on it. It's totally
That's
different.
brutal. That's like constantly having an adjustable rate mortgage throughout the entire life of the loan. Like there's no conventional fixed anything.
And then you got to pay the points and everything. Like it gets pretty pricey.
Yeah, I mean, having to like, obviously from a profit margin standpoint, like that's brutal. Like trying to predict, okay, what is the cash flows going to look like? It's like, well, I don't know. It depends on the economic situation in 5 years.
Exactly. I got one of my buildings. I actually refinanced all my apartment buildings, and I got out right at the right time. And one of them was at like 2.14%. And I locked it in for one of them was 5 years. And in Canada, that's the other thing. Mortgages are amortized over 25 years. So
Interesting.
yeah, so the amortization is shorter. And on commercial, that's all you can get is 25 years. If you go with CMHC, which is kind of like Fannie Mae here, I think,
Hmm.
you can, if you're really like, if you have a really good property, you can get amortization as 30 or 40 years. And I was actually on all mine, I got like 30s and 40s when I refied because they were doing really good.
So I guess what was the turning point to where it like made you decide you wanted to move to the States then?
Just everything that was going, it was like the pricing, everything was so inflated. Nothing was certain on that end. Like like honestly, you couldn't buy anything and make it cash flow. And so I was like, okay, like, just because I could see that the interest rates were starting to go up, I was like, I think this is a perfect time to sell. And everybody thought I was insane. And I
That they don't now.
and I was at the very top, so I really lucked out. And I always wanted to come to like I wanted to be someplace warm. Like that's always been something I've wanted to do. And so I just kind of threw everything to the wind and went, let's go for it. My kids are
Lo-
older, they're both in their 30s, so it was
Love it.
a time, yeah. And then I don't know how I ended up in Sarasota. Like I have no idea. I had never heard of Sarasota. I have no idea how I ended up here. It's almost like I just kind of put my finger on a map and ended up here.
Just like-
Yeah, pretty much. I'm not even kidding.
So do you still have family back in Canada then, I take it, or like are your kids there too?
Yeah, my daughter's in Edmonton and she's getting married in June. She's marrying
Awesome.
Mike, and they have two boys that Mike brings with him. So that's amazing. Nolan and Ayrton. And then my son is married. He actually married an American.
Oh, nice.
live in Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, and they just had a baby in February last year.
So you still have ties, you still go back, so
Yeah.
you get to at least go back to the culture, which I've been up in Canada a few times just for in prior jobs, and yeah, I really like it up there. It's a beautiful place. So in Canada, did you do any fix and flips in Canada, or was it primarily the multifamily at that time?
No, I did fix and flips as well. Like I bought foreclosures. I bought a penthouse, did it. It was super cool. Like I jackhammered out the floors and then did cement floors
Oh,
and
that's awesome.
did a matte black kitchen. That one was a lot of fun. And then another couple flips I did was I bought three condos that were going into foreclosure that were in foreclosure that were owned by a bank. So I just did three on the same floor. So it just made it super easy to like just rinse and repeat the three.
I love that. It's
Yeah,
like the efficiency that's gained. I had two condos in Branson, Missouri. I don't know if you know where that's at,
not really,
but
but I
my
there he is.
yeah, it's pretty much yeah, middle of the USA, but it's kind of I mean it's a super small town, but it's a touristy town for the local metros there, like Kansas City, Des Moines, so St. Louis, so on and so forth, where it's like a drive-to destination for them, kind of like Gatlinburg for Nashville. It's like in the Smokies area. So it's kind of a similar type, I would say, obviously without the mountains and everything, but the two condos I had to renovate them both, and because they were the same, my sister bought some in the same complex and I was helping her renovate. That was my first, I guess, try at fixing holding. It wasn't necessarily flipping, it was fix and holding, but like the efficiency was like, oh, this one was terrible, then the next one was really quick, and then it just kept getting faster and faster. So yeah, it's super helpful when you have everything in one complex.
Yep,
But
same flooring, same baseboard, same everything. It just like
mhm.
it's super easy.
You
Yeah,
just start going a little crazy though,
yeah,
because you're like,
it's a little
oh,
bit.
did I finish? Which one was that?
Yeah, yeah.
That's awesome. So what from the multifamily? So you were doing the management on that in that space. What caused you to pivot over into fix and flip? Was that something that like did someone key that into you, or what? Like was there always do you just always have a knack for what caused that? Because fix and flip for me, I don't think I'd want to do it because I'm not very successful at it. But you've obviously seen a lot of success with it.
I think for me, because when I was doing the property management for the first fellow that I worked for, like everything was mothballed. So, and he came, like I had signing authority on the bank accounts and everything. Like it was wild. So I actually had to design and like I was running a crew of 30 guys. I'm 25 years old, actually wearing little mini skirts running around. And I had 30 guys I was running. And some of them
Whipping them into shape. Love it.
didn't appreciate it at the beginning. Um, and then my boss, one of the things my boss told me at the time, he goes, the guys weren't listening. He goes, you just need to fire one of them. And he goes, and the rest of them will listen. So I fired a guy and the rest of them started listening.
Oh, jeez.
So then that's where I start cut my teeth on that. It was just like, and I found that that was something I loved to do. And then I actually had got hit by a drunk, my kids and I got hit by a drunk driver in a car accident.
Oh, jeez.
And so I took the money from the settlement and I bought my first revenue property when I was 28. And then I renovated that a little bit and then put tenants in there. And that was my first rental property. And I just every time I go into something, I can just see the potential in it. I really love taking something that like is super neglected. Like I always say the uglier the better because like the change is so drastic.
Yeah.
I like to see that. Like I feel like
Hmm.
I'm accomplishing something too, and I like designing.
Yeah, not everybody has a knack for that because I mean I can go in and have a general idea, but I don't have some of the knack for like the artistic side of it. Like I need somebody like you or a birdie to come in and be like, hey, tell me like what color palette do I need to look at for this?
Yeah, Bertie's probably a lot better at me than I
Yeah.
am, but I'm very organic. I just go with it as I do it kind of thing.
And when you came out over to the US, it was purely just going straight into fix and flipping, right?
You know what? I actually bought a kind of I bought a duplex in Bradenton in August of 22, just before I moved here in February of 23. Or I moved here in August. No, I moved here in September and then I got my visa in February. So I had bought the duplex and then I because I wasn't allowed to work here, I had to have a contractor actually do the general contracting and everything for me.
Hmm.
But I still did all the designing and bought all the product and the material. So I did that. And I have that as an Airbnb. So that was my first thing that I did here.
It's like, I'm finally allowed to do this. I'm gonna do
And
it.
then I hate Airbnb, so then I arbitraged it. I rented it to two young guys that wanted to do Airbnb because it's all furnished and everything is ready to rock
Mhm.
and roll. Like it was on, like it was running really well. So I refied it, did a cost seg on it, refied it, and then these two young guys are running it now, so I don't have to do anything. I just get a monthly rent check. It's pretty cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I love how you pivot on everything. Like the whole, obviously you've got like the car accident happened. It's like, oh, this is kind of a tough situation. Some people let that get to them. They're like, nope, I'm gonna use this and leverage it to buy a property. Make a good situation out of this.
Yeah.
Then you got an Airbnb. Oh, I don't like this. I'm gonna make someone else manage it.
Yeah. That is smart. I think if anybody doesn't want to do their Airbnb, arbitrage it. It's
Okay.
so cool. Yeah.
Well, from the arbitrage perspective, so they come in as like a co-host. Is that the type of setup that they have?
I set up like a yearly lease with them where I'm not
Mm.
responsible for anything unless it's like something like the roof or, something that's drastic. It's got a brand new roof. But, that was just an example.
That's nice. So do they even take over the utilities and all that stuff? No kidding.
Everything.
That's wild.
I know.
I've,
And my payment is like just over $3,000 PITI, and they pay me $4,600 a month, and I do nothing. I know.
that's fantastic. I mean, the peace of mind that you have is like the more passive, the better. The
Yes.
further I'm getting, like when I first started into, you're probably the same way. It's like I want to be involved in every single aspect of it. That's why I even did the renovations myself when I was first starting out. And it's like, no, we need to start passing some things off. We can't accomplish what we're looking to accomplish if we keep doing that. But that's awesome. So you're now fix and flipping primarily.
Yes.
And are you focused purely in the Florida area, or do you have like what markets are you focusing on at the moment?
On the fix and flip, it's just kind of Sarasota, Braden. I'll actually do from Tampa to, I'm going to say like Venice area, somewhere in there.
Mhm.
Comus on the coast. I'm trying to go a little bit more inland towards like Orlando. If between Tampa and Orlando is like it's really growing in there, so I'm kind of focusing on that area as well. I like local Lakeland. I want to maybe start focusing there. I have a crew where they will actually go anywhere that I have work, which is really good. And they
That's
can,
awesome.
yeah, and my guys do like they do electrical. I got roofers, I've got the plumbers, I've got all the carpenters, I've got everybody. So yeah,
That's amazing.
yeah.
How'd you stumble across that when you came out here?
He always says that to me.
Because like it's challenging. I mean, I'm lucky where I'm at now because I have my brother-in-law who's a general contractor and he has like all his subs. So it's
Yes.
like, oh, I can lean on him. Granted, he's a little pricier, but he does phenomenal work. I don't have to worry about it if I hire him, but I'm like super fortunate with that. But not everybody like having a crew like you're describing is like that sounds like heaven. Like that's
Well, and I was, what okay, this is honestly how I find my crews. I go on Yelp and I refuse to hire anybody that's like a national company or a corporation. I only hire local guys.
smart.
And the other thing, and then once, a lot of times when I'm driving around, I literally will stop on jobs and see guys working, and I'll take pictures of their trucks, their trailers, whatever. And then I meet up with them and I get them to quote me and stuff on jobs. So I really try to do it organically. And then from there, I honestly start growing my crew. Like, and I mean, I've had to fire guys since I've been here, like, and probably fired two or three guys mid job and said, "Okay, you're off the job site." Like, I done.
Mhm.
I can't deal with that. Um, but then I get their friends involved. Like then you get the referrals. So like you get like, and then when you get a crew that works together, when they start knowing each other, things start to work really well because usually they're typically like, I don't want to be in there. I'm not going to, be doing baseboards and stuff. If the plumber's in there, he's going to be in my way. And I'm like, you guys are going to be fine. But once they start
Get
knowing,
over yourself. Stop acting like children.
they're always like that. And once they start knowing each other, they're okay working with each other. And they actually, a lot of times sit down and have lunch together. Like it's like super cool. And they always bring like microwaves. They always have like a microwave on site at the job site so they can heat up their lunches and stuff. It's like super cool.
Yeah, no, that's smart because the corporate, like the larger companies, they have their efficiencies and everything. They've systematized everything and they charge for that.
They
Big
and
time.
they try to run the job instead of letting you run the job. So then they
Hmm.
start dictating when they're going to show up instead of you telling them, okay, Thursday, this is happening. I need you Friday. And I always try to run my guys like right on the other guy's heels. Like I'm like, if they go, okay, I'm going to need till Saturday. I'm like, no, the other guy's coming Friday. Like,
Here's the due date.
yeah. So it makes the jobs go really fast.
Yeah, you sound like you're a phenomenal project manager. Like you've acquired that skill and honed it in really well. So from your like I guess what is your typical time frame or first off, before we get into that, like what's your average flip that you're looking for? Like what are the margins or where's your ideal after repair value, things of that nature?
I'm so far on the flips that I've been doing here, except for one, my net after everything's paid is about 100,000.
Ooh,
So
triple digit flips. I
yeah,
like it.
yeah. And like the one I did in Bradenton, I'm buying them typically in about the two and a half, like $250,000 range. And then it just depends what repairs need to be done. Like, is it like the whole thing? Does it need the roof and everything, or has it got some stuff that's already done? Lately, I'm finding I have like a lot of them need everything, of course. But so my budget's probably about 150 to 200,000 that I'm dumping into the property.
That's
Um,
pretty that's a decent amount.
yeah. And then the ARVs are usually like the one that's on the market that I have right now is at 575. I've got one that I bought at 590, putting about 190 into it, and the ARV is 1.2 million. I
Oh,
know.
that's awesome. And are you finding like are those ones moving still at this point in time? Like there's still the clientele out there?
There is people really like there people are looking really hard. The one that's going to sell at 1.2 might sit a little bit longer, but I try to also put mine under market a little bit. I don't want to be at the height of my market. I want to make sure that I'm under so that I can move it fast.
Smart.
So people are looking, like there's a lot of people looking, but people are also kind of a little bit apprehensive. So it's taking a little bit longer to sell stuff. Like the one that I sold last year, I had four offers in 24 hours.
That's amazing.
Yeah. And now,
That's in 2024. Like that's amazing.
yeah. And so now it's like this one's been sitting on the market. I'm freaking out. And my agent texted me yesterday and he's like, it's literally been 40 days. And I'm like, oh, it's been sitting too long. I'm like,
It hasn't sold in the first week.
I know that's exactly it. I start freaking out. So, but there's still lots of room. I can, if I have to, I can dump the price a little bit, and then
Hmm.
it can be gone.
So the typical time turnaround time because you're focusing on some of the similar type projects. What's your ideal turnaround time as far as one, you acquire it, and then the length of time for the actual renovation to getting it on the market?
Renos are 6 to 8 weeks typically.
6 to 8 weeks.
Yeah.
Wow, that's quick.
I know. I have a PML on the one I'm
That's
doing,
amazing.
and I sent her pictures, and she's like, "Oh my gosh, you're going so fast." And I said, "The crew would probably agree with you, but I think we're going really slow."
I'm a little frustrated this is not done in 3 weeks.
Yeah. But that one's taking longer because I had to do the permits because I had to do permits. I'm putting in a whole new panel roof, fixing a seawall, putting in a floating dock on the canal, stuff like that. So it's gonna that one's gonna be about nine, eight, no, about 9 or 10 weeks.
I bet your PMLs are probably like slow down a little bit so I can get paid more.
Yeah, exactly.
But you're too efficient. I like that you're efficient, but I don't like that you're efficient.
When I was doing an inspection on the other one, they do the inspection over the phone. From the lender. And she was like, "Oh my God, your crew is so fast." And I'm like, "It has nothing to do with the crew."
That's the thing with construction. I mean, there's a lot of people that they're really good at. I mean, they've mastered their craft pretty well, but if you don't have a good project manager in place
Yeah.
or good GC, what have you, which you're pretty much the acting general contractor at that point, if you don't have that, you're done. Like,
Yeah, you got to be ahead of them. Like you have got to like I mean there's going to be lights and everything's going to be sitting there waiting for the guys. So that like it's there before they're ready for it so that it things just go really fast.
oh yeah, and everything has to come together at just the right time. And when you
Yes.
have all these different subcontractors, they're not thinking of that. They're like, oh, once I get this done, okay, maybe I'll put in the permit for that. And then there's the delay for that, and
Yep.
then you're waiting for inspections. It's like, no, you got to have the full picture and make sure you're constantly almost babysitting it to a certain extent.
No, you are for sure. And you're right. I mean, once I work with, like, say, I have a new contractor on a job and he hasn't pulled a permit, the next time he knows because I'm on him. I'm like, did you pull the permit? And he's like, no. Well, I'm like, you should have pulled the permit day one. Like, we need to go.
So
And they're
what
like,
are you doing?
oh. Yeah.
So as far as your involvement during that 6 to 8 weeks, how much time is that taking out of each week for you? Like, because you're to the point where you really know what you're doing, but still, I'm sure it's a fair amount of your week, depending.
You know what? The only thing that burns my clock is traveling to the site and back because I'm in Sarasota and the flips are in Bradenton. And it's kind of high season right now for tourists and stuff. So it depends on the time of day. It can take me 25 to 30 minutes to get there, or it could take me an hour. So it's my drive time. Like on site, I'm spending maybe half an hour to an hour at max, a couple times a week.
And I like good podcast time.
Yeah, exactly.
You can catch up on the endless videos that we have.
Exactly.
So many videos that we can catch up on and all the groups that we're involved in. Yeah, I forgot to mention that is so the way that I know Heather, everyone, is so she's part of Owners Club, which is this mastermind group where we own businesses together. We're improving our businesses. We have like our 5, 10 year goals to where we're trying to like really change the real estate industry for the good. So we're super exciting mastermind to be a part of. The people that I've met in there, I know Heather, like I'm fortunate that I've been able to meet Heather. She is just phenomenal, super down to earth, easy to talk to, but yeah, a really good group of people. But I forgot, are you in sub two as well?
I am in sub two. That's how I actually ended up at Squat Up. So I ended up in OC.
That's awesome. Yeah,
Yeah.
same,
What about you?
same.
Aren't you Gator too?
So I am, so I'm not technically in the Gator method, but I do like my lending is all transactional lending. But I've actually learned a lot of my stuff from this guy named Ryan Trope, and he's super sharp. But he's like really honed in and he's niched it out pretty well to where he's firmly I'm EMD, double close, seller carrybacks, and he knows it like the back of his hand, and he's super efficient. And yeah, I've learned a ton from him, so that's been super helpful. But he came from the sub two community, and I believe he was in Gator as well. But a lot of the stuff that like I learned the overall concepts just from hearing other Gators and being in sub two. But once I keyed into Ryan, it was like, oh yeah, this guy knows what he's doing. So
Well, and you know what you're doing. So
yeah,
I think
yeah,
you're
I'm getting better. I'm not quite up to his status, but I'm getting better for sure. But
absolutely. We're both in the YouTube class.
we are in the YouTube cohort. We're getting our YouTubes all locked in and see because especially with Heather, she has so much value to bring to the table, and so these videos are going to be super helpful. I'm crazy excited about her videos coming out because if anybody's looking to get into the fix and flip space, those are going to be the ones to watch. Speaking of that, going back to that for a minute, as far as when you're identifying these properties for someone that like say they're wanting to get into the fix and flip game, what are you look like? Where are your leads typically coming from? Are you doing much outbound, or I'm sure you've got a good portion that's like inbound referral at this point in time. But when you started, like how did you kind of get it off the ground?
You know that's a great question because at the beginning I was getting nothing. And it was really tough to find because every time there was something that was worthwhile, it was gone by the time
Mhm.
I even knew about it. I think that for me, honestly, it's the networking. It's the networking. Wholesalers are huge. I think I found a couple on Investor Lift.
No kidding.
Yes.
I
I
thought by the time they got there.
I know. I think guys are posting there first thing. Like I think as soon as they get something, they're posting it there. So investor lift and then wholesalers, and then I've got an amazing agent that brought me the one that I'm doing right now.
That's awesome. I bet she loves you because then she gets to sell it for you, I'd imagine. So she
It's a
gets the
it's a
commission on the sell.
he's super knowledgeable. Like he'll like even with this one, I've never done a seawall before in a floating dock. He's like, I got a guy, and he had already got me a price before I closed on the property on getting that done. Like my agent is amazing.
Those are the type of people you want on your team that they don't ask for, oh, what do you need? It's more of like they can already see a few steps ahead of you, and if it's something they can provide, they're already on it, which is awesome. I
Yeah.
love working with people like that.
And how I found him is I found him because he was super active on social media and I had to sell a flip. And I was like, I'm gonna phone, and he's out of Tampa. And I phoned him and I'm like, John, his name is John de Bellevue. And I said, you're all over social media. I want you to sell a flip for me. And he's ever since then, he's been my agent and he is like Johnny on the spot. He does everything. He's amazing. He'll even GC or oversee flips for out of state investors. Like he's
No
really,
kidding.
yeah.
Yeah, that's a good one to have on your team. That's awesome. Don't let him go.
No, I won't.
Yeah. That's the thing. Once you find that good team and you're humming, it's humming along. It's like, nope,
Yeah.
not gonna mess this up. But as far as so you got the lead source, when you're going after these properties, what would you say is like the most key item as far as your go no go gauge on like what's gonna cause you to move on it?
For me, basically it's size. I like to like I for especially in Florida here, I think most people are looking for over 1,500 square feet. I like where I can kind of like I don't want to move any load-bearing walls or anything like that because then you're just going to extend how long you have to wait for permits and the rest of it. So I
Hmm.
want to be able to go in there and it's more than cosmetic. I like doing things where I do like in the one I'm doing some videos right now. I just if you move a doorway, it's insane. On the one I'm doing right, I moved three doorways and it totally changed the flow of the master bathroom. Made a laundry room that used to be just like a back closet with a pantry, and now I have a walk-in laundry room. And then I moved the kitchen going into the hallway and moved it to the other end. So now I can have a huge bank of drawers and everything that's L-shaped in the kitchen to give it like almost double the cupboard space.
Just a
Like
minor touch like that. That's
yeah.
amazing.
And for me, I like to add a bedroom if I can. If I can add a bedroom, if there's wide open spaces, that's something else I like to do. And then just making sure in Florida, I always try to make sure that they have a carport or a garage, because here everybody needs at least one or the other. Uh,
Mhm.
and just to make sure that they have enough yard. Like some of the yards sometimes can be super massive here, but they can also be really small.
Yeah. Are those yards filled with gators down there where you're at?
No, but everything else, I'm
There-
telling you.
So another one last thing. I know we're kept getting up on time, so I could honestly talk about this for forever. But being that you've been so heavily involved, I mean, 30 years with property management, I know there's definitely stories going into that with the fix and flips. I guarantee you have like a whole library of fun stories that you could tell us about. But is there anything like specific that comes to mind of like maybe it's a horror story or maybe it's a good story to where maybe it's a cautionary tale that would help newer investors getting into the space? Maybe it's just something that's funny. Uh, you take it how you'd like.
There's a whole bunch I can't tell you.
Yep, I figured that might be the case.
That's from the property management side. I cannot tell you about those ones.
Yeah.
Um, you know what? I think that for me, the biggest thing that people don't put in their budget when they're doing a flip is landscaping. And landscaping is so expensive. Like you're going, oh, we're just going to cut there. And you need to do the landscaping because the landscaping is the first thing they see when they see the property. It's all about street appeal. So,
Hmm.
whether it's doing the exterior of the home, a lot of people just go, oh, it'll be fine. If you could just do a couple things on the exterior, even paint the soffits, but do the landscaping and make sure that you have a heavy budget. On the one that I was not the one that I'm working on right now, the one that's on the market. It was full of bamboo trees that had blown over, and I'm like, oh, whatever, we'll get rid of the trees and everything. $17,000 later. Yeah.
Just
One
for removal?
just remove the one root ball of a bamboo, one root ball from one tree was 6,000 pounds.
Yikes.
Yeah. So like always over forecast. And then if you want to, then you can always add something like a pergola. Like if you've got enough in your budget, you can add things, if you've
Hmm.
got extra. You can always spend it somewhere on the exterior. But I always think that the people don't put enough into landscaping.
On average, with the ones where you're like the price ranges you're looking at, on
Mhm.
average, what are you typically spending on or allocating for a budget on the landscaping? Maybe it's a percentage or you have a particular amount. It's kind of
I,
hard. I'm sure it's hard to like
it,
pinpoint, but
yeah, I would say a minimum of 10,000
minimum.
for
Okay.
sure, minimum for sure. Like I would say 20K easy. Yeah.
Yeah, that's why I don't know why I never thought of that, but yeah, curb appeal is that is super important because I know that's like anytime my wife and I are going to look at a house, that's the first thing she's, oh, it's so cute.
Yeah. And then what about the driveway? Like
Yeah.
that's another thing people always overlook is the driveway. What if the driveway is like falling apart, and now you got to fix it or and there is ways you can fill them and stuff, but the
Mhm.
exterior is like something that you forget about, I think.
Yeah. And you mentioned the carports, which I find funny because out here in Tennessee, like that was new to me. I don't know if that's just the South because it's warm or what
Yeah.
have you, but there's so many houses out here where we're just south of Nashville for like an hour and a half or an hour or so. But a lot of the houses out here, the older ones, they have some maybe have a carport, but some of them they don't even have a garage at all. And then the ones that did have a garage, they converted it to extra living space. I'm like, what are you guys doing?
Do that all the time here. It's kind of wild. And we don't have carports in Canada either, so that's a new thing for me.
Yeah. It's super interesting. But
Yeah.
I guess from your business wise, what I would, at least from what I'm hearing, sounds like PMLs would be a good thing for you for sure. But outside of like bringing in a private money lender, we'll start off on that after you answer this question. But what's the thing you need most in your business at this point in time?
Honestly, it's because I'm actually like my niche is like the multifamily. I do the fix and flip for today money. Um,
Hmm.
what I really like to do is the commercial, which is like the RV parks, mobile home parks. My niche is the multifamily, of course, and then also motels. Not so much specifically hotels, but motels. I like motels. I like older stuff a lot of times.
They're
Uh,
quirky.
yeah, exactly. Exactly. So it's just leads on stuff like that with creative, like somebody that's motivated, that's open to creative and where there's lift. Like I'm always looking for the value add. I don't want turnkey. I want to be able to go in there and do the renos and stuff myself and then just push the value myself.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Because you know what you're looking for. You know what works on your end, where it's gonna, yeah, no, that's
And
smart.
I'm not scared of anything.
I can see that. I can see that.
Like even on the multifamily and stuff, I've done stuff that everybody's like, "There's no way you're not," and I love doing that kind of stuff.
I love that. I
Yeah.
absolutely love that. So PML is going to be an important one, and then from all you wholesalers out there, or even agents, brokers, definitely from the motel. It sounds like she wants a motel big time.
I
RV
do.
parks,
I
and
do.
I'm sure I'll get a buy box from you, but just generalize for the ones listening, because we're gonna get like how the best way to reach you here in a minute. But what are you primarily looking for in that space?
I'm looking for something on the multifamily or whatever, 12 doors minimum. I want to go, up to about 100. And everything I want it to be value add, preferably with creative within like a 50 mile, like half an hour of a larger city of like 50 to 75,000 minimum people. Or if it's an RV park, it has to be a destination if it doesn't fit the rest of the
Yeah,
criteria.
actually, vacation area. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
Smart. And from the RV park, is there specific amenities that you want to make sure that they hit on if they find you something?
No, because I want to add them.
I love it. You just need to have pad sites. That's all I
Yes.
want.
Yes.
I'll beautify the rest of it.
And I prefer, it doesn't have to be, but I prefer no septic.
No septic.
Yeah, I prefer to be on the city water and utilities for sure.
Really? That's
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah.
See, I'm looking for RV parks as well, but I'm okay with the septic.
I mean, I will. I'm not going to say no to a good deal,
Yeah.
but preferably, or have the option to even hook up to city. It just makes everything so cleaner and easier, you
Oh,
know?
100%. Yeah, 100%. And you never know tenants since it's not their septic. You never know what they'll flush down there. That's always fun. It's all kinds of fun. But with that, that's super awesome. But so you there you guys have it. You've got the ways that you can bring value to Heather. And one, definitely PML. I
Yeah.
guarantee you're gonna be very it's going to be a challenge to find anybody that's going to be better at getting a fix and flip done more efficiently. Like I've never heard of someone doing a fix and flip in 6 to 8 weeks. That's amazing. That that's insane. Like for that extensive of a fix and flip, that's
Yeah.
amazing.
Wow. I
So
have to tell you, I bought 7 townhouses that were built in 1912. They were original everything. And I renovated all 7 top to bottom, exposed like windows and replaced all the windows, did everything. And I did that in 6 months.
I need to get you up here to Nashville and finish out my duplex.
Yes.
I'm gonna get you in contact with my brother-in-law. I love my brother-in-law. He's just super busy with his own business right now. And I'm
Yeah.
like, I'm gonna sick Heather on you.
Oh,
You've got a
never.
new manager in town. Oh, that's awesome. So with that, like, what's the best way for everybody to reach out to you to get a hold of you?
I think like you and I were discussing this. I think the easiest is Instagram, and
Mhm.
my name on there is Heather.Dimmick. You can find me.
Awesome. Perfect.
Yeah.
I'll spell that out and put that in
Yeah.
the show notes for everybody, the description. And yeah, like I said, like I said with prior guests, make sure when you're dealing with people of this caliber that you're coming with some value to the table. Don't just bug them for their time. They don't, I guarantee you, they don't have much of it. So if you're going to talk to them, make sure you are bringing value. That way the conversation is going to go much better for you. But with that, Heather, I appreciate you so much. This was awesome. I always love talking to you. So
Yeah.
thank you for your time. And that is the wrap, everybody. Thanks for coming on the
Thanks
show.
so much, Josh. You're awesome, dude.
All right. Thanks.